we're able to secure the ball. We had time of possession in our favor, 38 minutes to 22 minutes, and it worked out really well. And our guys came off the bus. You never know how you're going to react to a 4.5-hour bus ride. And our guys came out, had a lot of emotion. Everything was going really good as far as all the phases of the game. And, we were really excited to come back with that victory. We had a lot of things happening. Our senior running back, Aaron Forbes, had his career best day, 160 yards on 20 carries. And all our running backs ran really hard. Our guys up front opened up the holes. We ran for over 300 yards in the game. And we were able to control the ball and had a very convincing win, which was exciting to see.
Coach, you get 7 turnovers on defense. Anytime obviously you get 7 turnovers, it plays in your favor. Let's talk a little bit about your defensive backs. Nolo with 2 return pick sixes. Christian Benford with 3 INTs.
Yeah, Christian was the co-rookie of the week in our conference this week. With those 3 interceptions, and then Nola was the first Villanova football player ever to have 2 interceptions for touchdowns in the same game. So whenever you get 5 interceptions, and then we also got 2 fumbles for that total of 7 that you mentioned as far as the turnovers, whenever you give your offense that many more opportunities and steal possessions like that and have 2 run back for touchdowns, that's going to probably work out in your favor. So glad that happened, and our guys were really good on defense and pressured the quarterback to cause some errant throws, and fortunately our guys were able to come down and make the interceptions.
Coach, before we get to our special guest, real quick about your freshman quarterback. 8 for 17, 132 yards, didn't even do a whole lot, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. What do you think of Kadir's play?
Yeah, Kadir did a nice job. He made great strides from, when he was forced into the second half the week before. And then, he got his first start, so he got his first career win on his first start. And he's an athlete. The bloodlines, they're there with the family. His dad played in the league with the Ravens. Kadri played for 9 years with the Ravens. I believe his mom's an All-American basketball player from Syracuse, New York, and his uncle, the Rocket, there played at Notre Dame. So Kadir is a good player. But what I really like about him is his competitiveness, his poise, his patience, and all those things. And he's harder on himself than we can be on him. And that's always a good thing. When a player has more higher expectations for himself than you do as a coach, you know you have a good guy to work with. And he went out there and managed the game. He didn't try to do too much. He did a great job. He had a couple really impressive throws, and then he missed a couple that he knows he should have made. So we're looking forward to him to continue to progress. But Kadir did a great job, like I said, managing the game. Only had that 1 turnover, but to be honest, I think our receiver kind of broke that pattern off differently than he was supposed to, and Kadir tried to put it on him where he should have just probably, if he was maybe a little smarter and a little more experienced, would have just thrown that one away and come back to the next play. So he did a great job. He scrambled a couple times. He's 6'7", 215-pound athlete. He was a real good basketball player as well in high school. So Kadir has that athleticism. He has a really strong arm. He just got to get the experience to, make those good decisions, and you recognize blitz a little sooner and those types of things.
Well, you mentioned basketball.
I did.
You played in high school. We're joined by the 2-time national championship head coach of the Villanova Wildcats, starting his 18th year. I can't believe how fast.
Yeah, man.
Hey.
How you doing, guys?
Good to have you here, man. Appreciate you coming out on your. So I was thinking of this when I was driving over. You open up your season tomorrow, and I'm going to let you talk about that with the Finneran Pavilion and all those things. But you're here doing my show on the night before your opening game.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
not sure I would be doing a radio show the night before we open up against Temple. So appreciate you being here, man.
I'm glad to do it. I love being a part of Villanova football. I'm so proud of you guys and how you came back this weekend. It's so hard. I'm a fan of Villanova football, but it's always through the coach. I'm a fan of you and I was with Coach Talley, and so I'm always watching how we respond. It's the hardest thing to do with young people when you have a couple tough losses, especially our loss against New Hampshire is a tough loss. If you can respond like you guys did, to go on the road, bus ride like you did, freshman quarterback, and you can win like that, then you've got a special program. When things are clicking and everybody's healthy and you're winning games, everybody's good at that. Everybody knows how to handle that. But when you have some great win against Temple, great win early, then a couple tough losses, and you can still keep them together and come back like that on the road, that's big time, man. That's impressive. Yeah, that is really impressive.
That was exciting. Our guys really showed up, and, it wasn't a super clean game, but we did a lot of things right. And, you and I have talked about this before. There's certain things that you want to make sure the guys are handling, and there's certain things that you want to make sure, because you're going to have ups and downs and ebb and flows. But there was one penalty we had. We had too many penalties. We had too many mental penalties. But there was one penalty we had which I almost felt pretty good about. It was on Christian Benford's third interception. It happened near our sideline, and half the sideline ran onto the field.
Yeah.
And so I knew we were in a good place when we had that much of excitement and enthusiasm, behind the guys that were on the field.
There are certain things that go on within your team. We're watching football. Sometimes a guy's really aggressive. He breaks through the line, and with the new rules, he hits the quarterback.
Right.
And he gets a penalty, but he couldn't hold himself back. It's a good thing with our team. Sometimes, like we had a scrimmage against Virginia, and we're trying to get a young Javon Quinterly to just toughen up. He's only about like 120 pounds. I think they list him as 170, but I swear he's like 120. And he gets matched up against a big 6'10", 270-pound center, and he gets down low, and he's worn him out for a rebound, and he jumps over his back, and he takes out his legs, and they call foul. And we're like, that's it. We need that, Javon. That's exactly. We need you to have that kind of toughness. So there are plays like that you see as a coach that your team's doing the right things. You might not have got the results you wanted, but your team's doing the right things.
Right, and the other things that I know you and I have shared and talked about is, and I'm going to let you expand on this, but keeping them focused. Like you said, you just graduated or lost, not all, some couple guys early, but a whole bunch of guys, first-round NBA guys. Yeah. And now you're going to have that, everyone's calling it your rebuild, right? And your younger guys and so on. And you just mentioned one of them. So what's the approach with that? The attitude, that's still your hashtag, and humble and hungry is still your mindset.
Humble and hungry is going to be easy.
Right.
That's going to be easy to be humble this year. We always we always wear our wristbands. I wear humble and hungry and attitude. And last few years when you're having success, I was really keeping that humble and hungry right up front, man. Just stay humble, stay humble. I don't have to worry about. I don't even have it on. I got attitude on, man. It's just going to be. When you describe it, whether it's rebuild, rebuild is if you're worried about the results, and it's just can we keep this culture strong, and if we can keep this culture strong, and we'll take the results of that, right? If we can get these young guys to play really hard and be unselfish, play together and play smart, and take pride in wearing that Villanova jersey. If we can get them to do that, then we'll take the results of that. We had two great scrimmages. North Carolina came in. Mm-hmm. They were a real talented young team. So they were extremely talented, but they were young like us. You can tell by the end of the year they're going to be great. They're going to be incredible. But they were young enough that our toughness and aggressiveness could make us effective. Then we went down and played at Virginia, and Virginia was not young. They were old. They played just as tough and just as aggressive as us, but they were more disciplined and just wiser, more experienced. So our guys got a taste of that. So I feel like we had two great scrimmages. Now we open up tomorrow night against a team like Morgan State that's real athletic, and they're going to speed up the game. And you're going to have young guys like Javon Quinterly or Cole Swider who are hyped up coming out of high school, and they're going to think, who's Morgan State? Well, they're going to realize that there's juniors and seniors at Morgan State that are better than them.
Right.
And they don't have any idea. I'm trying to tell them, but they're going to get a taste of it tomorrow night.
Right. We played Morgan State in football a few years back, and we got them early, thankfully, because they were very athletic, but we just – played a little cleaner game, and, they weren't real sharp with their execution and so on. Next thing you know, at the end of that particular season, Morgan State was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So they have a lot of athletes down there. At least I recall them in football one year when we played them as well. So
yeah, we have our first scouting report. So, a lot of our young guys, they were always on these great high school teams, and they didn't really have to worry about scouting reports. Let's just go play. We're better than everybody. So we're trying to teach them how to understand personnel and our game plan. Well, they've got 14 guys. Well, in basketball, you got to know like 7 guys, 7, 8 guys. They got 14 guys. I can already look at our freshmen's eyes. They can't remember 2 guys.
Right.
And so for the first game, it's going to be tough on them. But there's a lot of pressure on Eric Pascal and Phil Booth.
Right.
We haven't had a class. We haven't had a situation where 2 guys are really that much older, that much more experienced, and they're going to really carry the team for a while. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. I think they're ready for it.
Yeah, I think they'll do a great job, no doubt. From what I've seen the last couple of years from both those guys,
yeah, man,
they'll be good leaders. They'll be good leaders for you for sure.
All right, Coach is going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. This is Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We're also joined by head coach Jay Wright. I think Ryan Fannin just took up our whole show.
That was a great lead-in, huh?
You know what? I always get caught somewhere on the road during the football games. If I'm not here, and I always listen to Ryan. I love listening to Villanova football on the radio. He's so into it, man. I really do love it. Sometimes I'm at the game, and then I have to leave because I have to be at an event at night, right. And I'll be driving home, listening, and I'll get home, and it'll be like fourth quarter. I'm like, all right, I got to stay. I want to just keep listening to Ryan.
He's awesome.
It's so cool, man. He's awesome. So into it.
We had him on the show. He called in last week, and so we had him end his segment with his phrase "Cats win, Cats win, Cats win." He added "Win it all" when that's San Antonio.
That's right.
That was awesome.
He has become legendary in Villanova lore, man, and people love that voice. They love his enthusiasm. You don't get to hear him do a football game, but he's so into it, and he's so prepared. And it's Kevin Riley is his partner, and Kevin's such a solid football guy, man. And I tell you, I listen to him a lot. I'm either on my way there from somewhere or I have to leave to go somewhere. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, Ryan comes in, and this past week we played in Richmond, as we talked about already, and It's only about an hour and a half to an hour and 45 minutes from where he lives.
Right.
So that was almost like a home game for him because
man.
he drives up here. It's almost 3 hours coming up here. But he'll come up the day before. He'll spend 45 minutes with Coach Venuto every week.
Oh, yeah.
He'll spend 45 minutes with Coach Trainer every week. He'll ask me some questions. The stuff he does to prepare for the game is unbelievable. You know, Sam and Joe joke with me sometimes. They're like, Ryan, you just asked me that question last week. It hasn't changed. You know what I mean? It's the same guys.
With basketball, it's so funny that we actually use him to find out injuries, who's playing, because he'll research it so much. You know, we'll getting prepared for a game. We'll be day before the game, and let's say we're playing St. John's, and Shamari Pons had injury. And we're like, is he playing? And, well, some people say he is. Well, all right, ask Ryan. Find it. Call Ryan. He'll know. And he finds out, man. It's amazing.
He'll have the full scouting report, and he'll have the whole rundown for you. And he'll know the whole roster of the other team. He'll know not just the starters. He'll know the backups to the backups.
It was the best. He went to Coach Venuto. I'll never forget it. We were playing there, and he was like, what about their third-string linebacker? I said, he hasn't played in 9 games. Right. Ask me about somebody who might get on the field.
Exactly. No.
Hey, speaking of guys that love Villanova football, I had a great experience with we did an event down in Baltimore. Our boy Frank Collada, it runs us. He's on the Cal Ripken board. So Cal Rip, they have an event with myself and Gary Williams and Mark Turgeon from Maryland, and Villanova people pack it. They have over 1,000 people.
Right.
But the host this year was Jerry Sandusky.
Okay.
So
preface that.
The son of the great Villanova football player, Sandusky,
right.
who I didn't know was from South Philly. He was from and coached in the NFL, and he finished up coaching in Baltimore with the great coach who
Brian Billick?
He coached him in Baltimore, and so that's where he grew up. But he was with Don Shula.
Okay, right. Down with the Dolphins. He was with the Dolphins for a while.
I always remember Sandusky's name. Was that first football that you see up there on the wall, retired jersey.
Exactly right.
And his son is the play-by-play for the Ravens.
Yep. Okay.
And still follows Villanova football loyally. And so we're down there at this basketball event. I never met him.
Right.
And we're talking about Villanova football. We're talking about the injuries this year. And you guys were getting ready to play Richmond. He knew. It's really cool.
Yeah, that is good.
But his father was a South Philly guy. I never knew that. And then coached all those years after playing in the NFL.
I knew he coached. Yep, I knew he coached. I didn't know he was a South Philly guy either.
Yeah, man.
And then you mentioned Frank. Frank's awesome. He texts me every week. He just won the Loyalty Award. During the game, the homecoming game at New Hampshire, saw him upstairs in the O'Day Lounge, and Frank does a great job. He comes to all our games. Obviously, I believe he sits courtside at all your games. And
how about our boy Brian Westbrook going into the Philadelphia Hall of Fame this week, man? That was so cool.
I was going to mention that. We were both there last Thursday, right? Last Thursday evening, they had a nice event down there.
He's so classy
in Philly, and it was great. You guys got recognized. The national championship team and the Eagles Super Bowl team got recognized, and then Brian got inducted, and he and AI were there. Do you know AI? Are you Allen Iverson? Do you know AI well?
No.
Any AI stories you can share with us?
No AI stories I could share on the air at all. But, he was, when he was playing for the Sixers, every guard, starting with Scotty Reynolds, all the guards, they wanted to be like AI, and I never wanted any of our guards to play like AI. But we'd be recruiting them to say, I would love to come to Philly. AI is my favorite player, and I'd be like, oh damn, I'm gonna have to change a lot in his game. But Larry Brown, who's a good friend of mine and spent a lot of time with us, has some amazing AI stories that he could tell. But again, we can't tell them here.
Right.
But Brian. You talk about Brian Westbrook. It was great. Joe McCoy was there. Yourself, Artie Cantadina was there.
Yeah, we had a good group. Basketball and football guys.
The football guys there supporting Brian. But he's so respected in the football world as a player, right? But also in the pro sports world of being just a classy professional athlete. Right? It's so cool. I thank him every time I see him, because everybody that meets him, they meet him as a celebrity and they find out what a great guy he is. And he's so synonymous with Villanova football. And he doesn't hide from it. Like
Right.
he really is proud of it. And I loved when they showed the films, you know, at the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of Philadelphia fans. They showed these great runs he had for the Eagles. But when they showed some of the runs he had for Villanova, wow, was that impressive, man.
Yeah, that was good
I mean,
stuff.
the Eagles ones were good, but his shoulders looked so big running the ball for Villanova. It was
Bigger shoulder pads back then.
Yeah, is that what it was?
The equipment has changed.
Is that what it
Yeah,
was?
the equipment has definitely
Oh, my
changed because
God.
they looked a little bulky on him.
He
you know
looked
what I mean?
scary.
Yeah.
He looked scary, man.
No, he's a phenomenal player, obviously, and still to this day is the only player to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in the same season.
Wow.
In that same year, he had over 800 yards in the return game. And if we didn't pull him off kickoff returns and punt returns, he probably would have had 1,000.
Wow.
Because he was real close to getting it. But he was too valuable to the offense as a receiver and a running back that we're like, okay, we got to take him off these special teams. We can't have him return punts anymore.
I always brag, and you know, as you get further from real time, you can embellish the stories a little bit. But I loved, because when we recruited DC, everybody loves him.
Right.
So we have a guard. I gotta be careful.
Gotta
How
wait
I
a
say
week,
this.
right?
How I say this. Let's say we were recruiting a guard from his high school, and even to this day, that kid's uncle was the same era as Brian at DeMatha.
Okay.
And he loves Brian and followed Brian at Villanova. So it was a big entree for us with their family to get this guard who's a great player. And as soon as I saw Brian, he said, "Hey, you got my boy," and he knew the family. He communicated with them during recruiting. But it's just so interesting when you talk to the family about Villanova. They're thinking Brian Westbrook, and they're thinking, if my son turns out like Brian Westbrook, it's not the player. Obviously, he's a basketball player. That kind of person, right? Then I always throw in there, well, really, he was supposed to be a point guard for the basketball team. Coach Talley stole him from us. That's what I tell everybody. Right. We brought him in there, and he doesn't mind that. You know, all these football guys, you want to believe you could be basketball players.
No, he likes that. He told that story the other night, Thursday night. He was talking about Stan Drayton was the guy on our staff, running back coach who recruited him at the time, and we almost recruited Brian off the basketball court. We saw him do more athletic things in basketball because he got hurt his senior year in football.
Right. So
he didn't have a ton of senior year film, and back then that's what you were looking at. You weren't evaluating as much as off a junior year as you are today. And so Brian told the story last Thursday at the ceremony where his coach, his high school coach, came up to him and said, "Hey, Villanova's interested in you." And he goes like, "Oh man, that is awesome. I can go to Villanova and maybe play basketball." He goes, "No, you can't." He goes, "They're recruiting you for football. You can't play basketball there." So, and it worked out obviously for all of us.
He was good.
He was a good player.
I mean, people down there in the basketball world know him as a basketball point guard at DeMatha.
Right.
He was a good player. He loves. I don't mind embellishing on that story because I know he likes it.
Right.
So if he didn't like it, I wouldn't go with it. But he loves when they say he could have been a point guard too.
And the fact that he started point guard at DeMatha is saying something.
Oh, and especially at that time. At that time, they're still a national contender, but at that time, they were a dominant national team. So I'm sure he played with probably 3 or 4 pros on that team with him, and the gentleman that we're thinking about is really impressive, and it'd be pretty cool to get another. I gotta be careful.
Right.
Nice. It'd be nice.
So you open tomorrow in the new Finneran Pavilion. So how excited are you about that? Why don't you share with everybody, because I'm sure not everyone here has been through the facility yet. Obviously, everyone will get in there tomorrow. Probably be a packed house because everyone. Not only do they want to see your team play and, opening game and so on and so forth, but they want to see the new facility.
Yeah.
So why don't you give us a little lay down as to what's different between this facility and what it was?
Well, I think what's important for Villanova, and I think we've done this with the Andy Talley Center, one of the things we always talked about is we have to have a facility representative of the class of the program. I always, the same thing, with the football team. I always when I go into your guys' offices, I always feel like this doesn't represent, you know, the program and the commitment to the program, right? And the pavilion now is, when you walk in, it's kind of a shrine to Villanova basketball. It's when you come in, the first thing you just see is the history, the tradition, and that's what I want. We all want everybody to feel when they come back. I always say that Villanova basketball fans, they like to do three things. They like to come and go to game. They like to go to games together. They like to drink together, and they like to go to mass together. You know. Sometimes we get that order out of mix a little bit. We like to drink a little bit and go to basketball a little bit more than mass sometimes, but we balance it out normally. But it's a place where you can go in there and people can feel good about coming in early, looking at all the tradition and being reminded of the history, and then, you know, party together a little bit before the game and hang out after the game.
Right.
But then when you walk into the bowl of that arena, it's smoothed out. The corners are filled in. It's got all the big scoreboards up. You know, the fans are closer to the court.
Right.
The students are at both ends. So you're going to get both experiences. The game part is going to be better. It's going to be louder and better seating. And then the hang, where you can really have a good time with your fellow alumni and your friends, is going to be off the charts.
Pre-game, post-game. I know you're going to try to do one more break. Can you do one more segment?
Yeah,
and I want to say, this is, before we go to break, this is probably, well, not probably, this is definitely the first time that I've been sitting here with a guest while he's on television on CBS Sports Network. So
don't change the channel. Don't go to your TV.
How awesome is that? You know, people are watching you at home. They're hearing you on the radio. This is a good combo right here.
It's too much.
All right. During the break, you got to come back. Turn your TV on to CBS Sports Network. We'll give them a plug. Coach Wright's on there with John Rothstein. But we're going to take a quick break. It's Talking Villanova Football with head coach Mark Ferrante. Back with more after this on 610 ESPN. Welcome back to Talking Villanova Football. Head coach Mark Ferrante. We have a short segment coming ahead. We're still joined by head coach Jay Wright as he opens his season tomorrow night at the Finneran Pavilion against Morgan State.
Yeah, Jay, thanks again. We really appreciate your time, and it's you know, really awesome of you to be here.
What a great
again,
place this is, right?
Before game. This is awesome. The Green Turtle, you know,
You get a
good
great
new
crowd.
home for us this year. Great crowd. Thanks to you being here, I think has something to do with that, which
Nah,
is awesome.
because
But we got a lot of local guys.
I know these guys. They all
got a
come
lot
from
of
Villanova
local guys.
football. They all go to Villanova football games.
And it's definitely awesome to have them here. And I know you got to run. So real quick, before you go, here's all I want to say, right? You got a game tomorrow, your opener. And then you have another one, your first Wells Fargo game on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So evening game. So same day as our game.
Right.
So I'm not sure if you're planning on being at our game or not. But if you do, make sure you stop at my wife Georgia's tailgate, because Mary Beth Vassinelli and my Aunt Corrine are two of your biggest fans. And if you want to pick up a whole batch of Italian wedding cookies to take with you down to the Wells Fargo, you know, you feel free to stop by.
I love that, man. We sent them a picture, right?
Yeah, we did.
We sent
did
them.
last year. Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
man.
so that'll be good. And
I love that we get Coach Massimino would have loved having that Syracuse Italian family coming down here for these games, man. He would be loving that. Man.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So hey,
he'd be proud of you as the head coach, you know. After coach, he was so happy they hired another Italian.
Yeah, I bet.
He'd be so happy.
You know, he was awesome, obviously. And I got to know him a little bit. He was pretty much leaving when I first came here.
Don't worry, he'd love you to death because you're Italian.
He didn't need to meet you. He just wanted to hear your last name. That's how I got a job for 4 years. It worked out really well.
That's right. No, that's great.
But you and I have been so fortunate to work for true legends, you know, and just great guys. I know.